Heartwarming encounter, Black waiter reveals incredible secret after Chinese billionaire mocks hardworking staff. The clatter of plates, the hiss of the coffee machines, and the chatter of regulars meld in a comforting symphony at Sally's diner every day. Marcus, a 35-year-old African-American waiter, darts between tables with practiced ease, pouring every ounce of his heart into this bustling refuge. He thinks of 8-year-old Mia, her laughter the melody that drives him, and his elderly parents, who taught him the values of hope and resilience. As he serves fresh pancakes and crispy bacon, it feels like family, a tight-knit community forged through shared lives and endless cups of coffee. But this Tuesday morning, a jolt of tension ripples through the diner with the arrival of Mr. Lin. He strides in, dripping with arrogance, flanked by his entourage, and immediately scans the room with disdain, unimpressed by the diner's warm charm. These waiters, he scoffs, his voice slicing through the laughter like a jagged knife. Just look at them. Can they even make a decent living? The air hushes, an uncomfortable silence swallowing the cheerful banter. With every mocking word, Marcus can feel that familiar fire igniting within him. But he remembers his late father's teachings, a veteran who stood for dignity and respect. So, instead, he chooses to rise above, displaying a restraint that makes his heart pound in his chest. Marcus meets Mrs. Wilkins' comforting gaze, a loyal customer who's become family over the years. He leans in closer, sharing the struggles, the late nights and sacrifices. Every plate I serve, he says, voice steady despite the thundering of his pulse, is a testament to my father's belief in me. His dreams live through me. As Marcus speaks, the heaviness of Mr. Lin's comments hangs in the air, but the familiar faces around him nod in recognition of shared challenges. The room starts to fill with murmurs of agreement, the strength of the community rising like fresh steam off a hot cup of coffee. Just when the diner begins to resonate with his story, the sound of Mr. Lin's scoff interrupts. "Spare me the sob story," he retorts dismissively, eyes narrow, a sneer twisting his lips. But something in Marcus shifts, an ember of hope ignites within him. "What if I could help you see," he says, locking eyes with the businessman, "the value in hard work and community." Gasps ripple through the room and the regulars lean in closer, sensing something monumental. This wasn't just about a confrontation, it was about bridging lives, two worlds clashing in vibrant colors. Could Marcus find a way to guide Mr. Lin into the heart of grassroots struggles? To show him that beneath every plate served lies a story worth knowing? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Silence hangs like a heavy curtain as Marcus stands before Mr. Lin, his heart racing. He knows he has a talent hidden deep within, the vision for entrepreneurial innovation, waiting to be unleashed. What he shares could reshape not just his future, but also change how privilege and effort intertwine. The diner's patrons lean in, hearts pounding, waiting for what comes next. Would Mr. Lin embrace the lesson, or walk away, leaving Marcus with a lingering question? Is there room in his world for understanding, or will he remain shielded in his arrogance? A whisper of hope hangs in the air, and it may just rewrite their destinies. Marcus took a deep breath, gathering all his courage. He could feel the weight of the room pressing in on him, eyes pinned on the exchange, moving with anticipation. "What if we made a deal?" he suggested boldly, surprising even himself. There was a ripple of energy amongst the regulars, they could sense the stakes rising. A deal? Mr. Lin's eyebrows lifted with curiosity, though he played it off as mere amusement. "And what could you possibly offer that would interest me?" His tone was dripping with condescension, but Marcus saw something deeper glimmer behind those calculating eyes. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was a crack in the armor. "What if you spent one day in my shoes?" Marcus proposed, his voice steadying. "Let me show you what this diner represents: a community, hard work, and the sacrifices made for dreams. He could see the murmurs of surprise ripple through the crowd. The notion was outlandish. No one had ever challenged someone like Mr. Lin with such conviction that Mr. Lin laughed derisively, trying to play it cool. You think for a second I'd trade my time for an experience like yours? He turned to his entourage, as if they were his only audience. I don't expect you to want to, Marcus countered, leaning forward slightly. But the truth is, everyone in this room is counting on me to show you what they live for. The diners exchanged tentative glances, heartened by Marcus's passion. And if I refuse? Mr. Lin crossed his arms, the facade of superiority firmly in place. That's your choice. Marcus shrugged, a flicker of mischief lighting up his eyes. But I can promise you this, you'd miss out on something powerful. The silence deepened, a statue-like calm settling in as Mr. Lin scratched his chin, contemplating the challenge. Something about a simple server standing defiantly shook the ground beneath him in a way he hadn't anticipated. Was he really going to let this opportunity slip? After all, the arrogance that had brought him here was nothing without a bit of humility. All right, Mr. Lin finally said, his tone suggesting a begrudging respect. I'll give you 1 day. But don't waste my time. A smile danced on Marcus's face, mingling with disbelief. The undertones of challenge in Mr. Lin's voice rippled through the diner. Mrs. Wilkins broke the silence, her warm voice cutting through the tension. You'll find Marcus is worth every minute, Mr. Lin. The crowd erupted in murmurs of agreement, hope contrasting with skepticism in the air. Marcus felt a wave of exhilaration mixed with anxiety wash over him. He had no idea what a day would hold, but he knew this was his moment. He looked out at the grateful faces of his community, the friends who stood by him, and felt their strength behind him. Tomorrow, then, Marcus said confidently, holding Mr. Lin's gaze. If you're ready to see the real world, I'll meet you here. Mr. Lin nodded once, his expression unreadable. The challenge had been set, and though the stakes were high, Marcus felt the warmth of determination in his chest. As Mr. Lin walked out the door, the diner exhaled collectively, an emotional release that sparked laughter and conversation once more. Marcus, I can't believe you did that. One of the regulars exclaimed. Wow. You've got guts, man, another added, clapping him on the shoulder, but Marcus knew this was only the beginning. He had a mountain to climb and a tougher job ahead than he'd ever faced. The weight of responsibility pressed down, but he also felt the thrill of possibility. What if he could change a heart, bridge a gap? What if this moment held the power to transform their futures, all intertwined in the dance of dreams and reality? He poured more coffee, his hands steady. Tomorrow would not just be about Mr. Lin. It would be a testament to every person who had ever served, struggled, and strived. As the day's fading light painted the diner warm gold, Marcus silently vowed to make that day count, but in the depths of his heart lingered a question: could Mr. Lin withstand the truth, or would arrogance overshadow the experience entirely? There was a world of lessons waiting to be unearthed. The morning dawned with a promise, sunlight streaming through the diner windows, illuminating the small space filled with the scent of freshly brewed coffee and sizzling bacon. Marcus arrived early, his heart racing. He glanced out the window, waiting for the figure of Mr. Lin to appear. Today was the day everything could change. Hey, Marcus! Called out Betty, the cheerful waitress, as she set up the tables. You ready for this? I think so, he replied, forcing a smile. But underneath, nerves danced in his stomach. The weight of what could happen bore down on him. This wasn't just about his pride, it was his community at stake. As the minutes ticked by, patrons started filling the booths, their conversations a comforting backdrop. Mrs. Wilkins sat in her usual corner, her knitting needles clicking together. The regulars offered encouraging smiles, filled with hope. They believed in him, and that made all the difference. Suddenly, the bell over the door jingled, and there stood Mr. Lin, looking distinctly out of place in his tailored suit among the diner's casual crowd. He scanned the room, his expression setting into one of minor annoyance. Marcus took a deep breath. This was it. Right on time, Marcus greeted, trying to mask the racing of his heart. Demar. Lin offered a curt nod, his eyes darting around the diner as if it was a foreign land. What now? He asked, the arrogance still lingering in his voice. Today, you get to see life behind the counter, Marcus replied with a spark of determination. Let us start with breakfast service. Breakfast? Mr. Lin's brow furrowed. The thought of serving people seemed beneath him. As a server, Marcus continued, you'll get a glimpse of the hustle and the heart that runs this place. It's about connection, stories, and hard work. Fine, Mr. Lin sighed, rolling his eyes, but there was a tightness in his jaw that hinted he was playing along. The first few tables were bustling, with Betty instructing Mr. Lin on taking orders, his clipboard clutched awkwardly in his hands. Marcus couldn't help but chuckle softly, the contrast was striking. Mr. Lin, surrounded by regulars who remembered every holiday special, gazed at the menu like it was a foreign language. You can do this, Marcus said, leaning in to encourage him. Just listen to them. As Mr. Lin stumbled through the first few orders, the atmosphere in the diner shifted. Laughter bubbled up, and for the first time, he was viewed not as a towering figure of wealth but as a fellow human, fumbling along. The patrons took pity on him, sharing stories, and gradually, he began to relax. Did you ever think you'd be doing this? Marcus prodded, watching the transformation unfold. Was there a chink in the armor after all? Mr. Lin looked around, and for the first time, his steely gaze softened. Truthfully? No. I thought service was a waste of talent and time. His voice was low, and there was a hint of vulnerability that hadn't been there the previous day. Marcus seized the moment. But this place, these people, this is where the real magic happens. There's value in every cup of coffee we serve and every conversation shared. As the morning wore on, the mixture of laughter and chatter began to pull Mr. Lin in, and he started engaging with the diners. He learned their names, their favorite orders, and even cracked a few jokes, albeit awkwardly. It was a side of him Marcus never expected to see. Then, in a brief moment of quiet after the breakfast rush, Marcus noticed something. The weight that had burdened Mr. Lin seemed to lift. His stiff posture eased as he observed the connections all around him. But just then, a familiar voice called out from the corner. Mr. Lin. I never expected to see you here. The diner grew silent, and all eyes turned to the newcomer, a former business rival of Mr. Lin, smirking from the doorway. It lingered in the air like a storm cloud, a reminder that the day wasn't just a whimsical adventure. This was real, and the consequences of this encounter could change everything. What would Mr. Lin do now, caught in the intersection of his life of privilege and this newfound reality? Would he stand strong against the mockery, or would the barriers of his arrogance slam shut again? The diner hung in a tense silence, like the calm before a storm. Heads turned toward Mr. Lin, waiting, breath held tight. The smirk on the rival's face twisted the atmosphere with a palpable tension. Would the morning's progress disintegrate under the weight of old grudges? Mr. Lin's eyes narrowed, a flicker of defiance igniting in his expression. But as he looked around the room, he caught the eye of Mrs. Wilkins, who smiled warmly from her corner booth, her knitting needles momentarily forgotten. It was as if her hope bolstered him, whispering that he could choose a different path. Nice to see you too, Leonard, Mr. Lin finally replied, a surprising coolness in his tone. I hope the food's better than the last time you graced us with your presence. A collective murmur of approval rippled through the diner. Leonard's smirk faltered, replaced by a look of annoyance. There was strength in Mr. Lin's voice now, a far cry from the awkward servitude that defined him mere moments ago. Are you really taking tips from a bunch of nobodies? Leonard scoffed, glancing around the room, dismissing the patrons as mere background noise. You've got bigger fish to fry, right? Time is money, after all. The tension buzzed, electrifying the air. Marcus felt a knot of anxiety in his gut. This was it, this moment would define everything he'd been trying to achieve today. The vulnerability displayed earlier by Mr. Lin was being challenged, and he had to navigate the storm. "They may not have your wealth, Leonard," Marcus interjected, "but these nobodies understand the value of community and kindness. They have built a family here that money can't buy." The words hung in the air, a stark reminder of what true significance meant. But to whom? Mr. Lin's gaze darted back and forth between his rival's taunts and Marcus's earnest plea, weighing them like a scale balancing options he never considered. For a fleeting moment, it looked like the fire that had sparked the change in him might flicker out, the armor creeping back around his heart. But then, drawing a deep breath, Mr. Lin straightened his back. "Excuse me, everyone," he called out, with an unexpected warmth that drew attention. Voices hushed, forks paused mid-air. "I may have had a different outlook on life before. But in just a short time here, I'm starting to see what real success looks like." Gasps of surprise filled the diner, eyes widening at his admission. He turned toward the regulars, each familiar face who had welcomed him so willingly. "Your conversations have shown me that there is value in humility and empathy. I'm here to serve you today, not as a billionaire, but as one of you." A slow, appreciative applause began, tentative at first, but then growing to fill the space. Laughter and applause pierced through the tension, lifting it up and away. The shift in Mr. Lin was palpable, the barriers he had so carefully constructed beginning to crumble. Leonard, caught off guard, struggled for words but sputtered nothing that could pierce the banquet of acceptance occurring in the diner. He shrugged and retreated back through the door, clearly not ready for this unexpected twist. Marcus beamed at Mr. Lin, a mixture of pride and relief surging through him. Maybe, just maybe, they could not only change one man's perspective but transform a community in the process. The chatter resumed, filled with excitement and newfound camaraderie, the warmth enveloping the diner like a beloved quilt. As the morning unfolded into lunch, Mr. Lin seamlessly blended into the rhythm of the diner, each interaction deepening his connection to these people. But as the sun dipped low, causing shadows to stretch across the tables, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter had yet to reveal all its secrets. Was Mr. Lin ready to embrace this new way of life, or would external pressures lure him back to old habits? And what would happen when those he once favored came calling again, expecting him to abandon the very heart he was beginning to understand? The answers seemed just out of reach, but Marcus knew it was only a matter of time before the next test of character would come knocking at Mr. Lin's door. Little did they know, the challenge waiting just around the corner would be more than a little unnerving. The afternoon sun streamed through the diner's windows, casting a warm glow on the bustling scene inside. The chatter had returned, but there was a new energy in the air, a sense of hope and unity that hadn't been there before. Mr. Lin felt lighter, almost unburdened, as he moved from table to table, exchanging laughter and smiles with patrons who had become familiar faces. Mrs. Wilkins, her needles clacking rhythmically, called out to him. "You keep this up, Mr. Lin. You'll have a seat at our knitting circle in no time." Her eyes sparkled with a mix of mischief and sincerity. "Only if you promise to teach me your secret stitch," he replied with a grin, feeling the corners of his mouth tug upward in genuine delight. This was the kind of exchange he had never allowed himself to enjoy before. Just then, the door swung open again, and in walked a trio of well-dressed individuals, their air of authority cutting through the warmth of the diner like a sharp knife. Marcus's heart sank as he recognized them immediately. They were associates from Mr. Lin's world, the world of corporate deals, black-tie gatherings, and expectations that weighed heavily upon his shoulders. "Leonard told us you were here, Lin," one of them, a stern-faced woman named Carol, said as she sauntered over. "Thought we'd join you. Have a little talk." Mr. Lin's stomach twisted. It was a familiar feeling, one he had known far too well, the anxiety of slipping backward into his old life, trapped in a corporate cage he was just beginning to escape. The diner's atmosphere shifted once more, tension creeping back in like a shadow. Patrons halted their conversations, their eyes darting between Mr. Lin and the newcomers, noticing the storm brewing. "Carol, what brings you here?" he asked, forcing himself to maintain composure. "We want to discuss the upcoming merger. You can't just throw your life away for this, she gestured vaguely around the diner, as if denoting the very heart of what he was trying to build. You have obligations, Mr. Lin. Important ones. Marcus took a few steps closer, catching the wary glances from others around the room. No one here is throwing anything away. This is about finding value where you least expect it. The words tumbled out before he could stop them, raw and impassioned. I'm not throwing away anything, Mr. Lin interjected, his voice rising slightly. These people have shown me a way of living that I never appreciated before. The tension thickened around them, the smiles of patrons dwindling into concerned frowns. Carol's expression hardened, her brows knitting together tightly. Don't be naive, Lin. You're playing with fire. You have a reputation to uphold. Maybe it's time I let it go, he answered, his conviction surprising even himself. As conversations resumed cautiously around them, Mr. Lin's heart raced. Would he stand firm against the pressure, or would he fold under the weight of corporate expectations and old allegiances? He could feel Mrs. Wilkins's supportive gaze, the hope of the regulars behind him, urging him to stay true to the community spirit birthed that morning, but as the door swung one more time, filling the room with a chilling draft, he realized this was only the beginning. Far beyond these walls lay the challenges he was yet to face. Just because he had changed didn't mean the world would be quick to accept him. And outside, they were waiting, ready to drag him back. Would Mr. Lin make a choice that aligned with his newfound values, or would the weight of old obligations prove too strong to resist? The diner held its breath in anticipation. The silence in the diner was palpable, a collective holding of breath as everyone waited for Mr. Lin's next move. He felt the weight of their gazes, a mix of concern and hope. Carol's expression was a tight mask, unwavering and unyielding, but in that moment, Mr. Lin saw a flicker of something else: fear, perhaps. Fear of losing control, losing a piece of the power she wielded over their corporate lives. Look, Carol, I can't keep living for other people's expectations, he said, his heart racing. This diner, these patrons, they reminded me of what matters in life. What matters? She spat, her voice sharp but edged with disbelief. What matters is success. It's money and influence. You're throwing all that away for what? Coffee and small talk. Small talk. He echoed, his voice raising among the chatter. This isn't just coffee and small talk. It's connection. It's community. Something I've been craving for years. As he spoke, an outburst of murmurs moved through the diner. People nodded small affirmations, and Mr. Lin could see Mrs. Wilkins grinning, her knitting momentarily forgotten. That warmth echoed back in his heart, like a forgotten tune brought back to life. Community doesn't pay the bills, Carol continued, her tone defensive, but cracks began to show in her facade. Just then, Luis, the diner's black waiter who had been quietly serving tables, arrived at Mr. Lin's side with a coffee pot in hand. He filled Mr. Lin's cup and leaned slightly closer, lowering his voice. "Want to hear a secret?" he asked, a glint of mischief in his eyes. Mr. Lin raised an eyebrow, intrigued against the backdrop of confrontation. This place isn't what it seems. You see all these people. They're more than just faces. They'll help you if you let them, help you stand strong against the tides of your old life. Mr. Lin blinked, taken aback by the earnestness in the waiter's voice. It was clear that the diner offered refuge to more than just its patrons, it built a sense of belonging that transcended everyday life. Like I said, you're playing with fire, Lin, Carol cut in sharply. This camaraderie you think you found? It could burn you. Maybe I need some heat in my life. For too long, I've let fear of the flames dictate my actions. Around him, the crowd began to engage again, whispers of support building as they witnessed the shift in the room. Mr. Lin glanced around, feeling the solidarity of the moments that had blossomed just that day. The laughter, the shared stories, they were building bricks in a wall that protected his newfound ideals. Your merger is a dangerous game, Carol warned, but now, there was uncertainty behind her words. And don't think I want to go over your head if you don't comply. Maybe your threats are what keep me trapped, Mr. Lin replied, irritated yet resolved. But I'm done living in fear. He turned, finally letting the discontent seep away, and faced the diner, his newfound family. I'm tired of playing it safe. For once, I want to risk being myself. A tremor of excitement rippled through the room. The spirit within those walls felt electric, alive, as customers raised their mugs in support. Carol, visibly flustered, scoffed but retreated a step, unsure of her next move. Luis leaned down to Mr. Lin, his voice low and encouraging. Remember, a community will catch you if you fall. The door slammed open once more, revealing a shadowy figure on the threshold, like an authoritative silhouette ready to forge yet another path into Mr. Lin's life. All eyes shifted as a new tension filled the air. A new challenge was approaching fast. Would this stranger be an ally or an adversary? And could Mr. Lin truly embrace the chaos of change while standing firm in his choice? The questions hung heavily in the room, the warmth still lingering, but uncertainty had crept in again, ready to push the narrative forward. The newcomer stepped fully into the diner, and a sharp gasp escaped from one of the regulars at the counter. It was a tall man, dressed in an expensive suit that contrasted sharply with the colorful, casual atmosphere of the diner. His hair was slicked back, and his expression bore the kind of confidence that came from years of dealing in hard negotiations. Mr. Lin instinctively tensed. Is this where the big decisions are made now? The man chuckled, his voice rich and deep, but there was an undertone of condescension that raised the hair on Mr. Lin's neck. He stood motionless as the man strode forward, his eyes slicing through the crowded diner in search of the source of the commotion. I'm sorry, who are you? Mr. Lin finally managed to ask, the tension in the room heavy enough to feel. Ethan Briggs, the man replied, extending a hand in a way that felt rehearsed, polished. Vice president of the company you'd be joining after our merger. Can't have you dodging all responsibility, can we? Mr. Lin felt a tide of anger swell within him. I'm not interested in your merger. Surprised murmurs ricocheted around the diner. The customers exchanged curious glances, but Mr. Lin's resolve didn't falter. He could almost feel Luis beside him, sending waves of encouragement into the air. Ethan tilted his head, giving Mr. Lin a smile that seemed too wide, showcasing his fine teeth. Oh really? You think you can just walk away from a deal that could secure your future? Your whole career? I've changed my priorities, Mr. Lin muttered. He gestured broadly toward the bustling diner, the laughter, the comfort, the shared moments that seemed to pulse with life. This is what matters now. Ethan's eyes narrowed, and for a brief moment, Mr. Lin wondered if he even understood the deep connection that exists in a place like this. You'll throw away all your hard work for a cup of coffee and a few friendly faces. What seemed like a taunt sparked something deeper. It's more than that, Mr. Lin said firmly. These people, they remind me who I am. Who I want to be. Not just a name on a corporate spreadsheet. Ethan's facade flickered, and a hint of concern seeped through. You understand this is a big risk? One misstep, and everything you have could crumble. You just want to have a diner to return to. To be honest, Ethan, I feel more at home here than I ever did at your company, Mr. Lin replied, the words spilling out before he could tether them down. And I refuse to sacrifice my happiness for a paycheck. A ripple of laughter sparked at the far end of the diner, breaking through the mounting tension. The warmth echoed, a stark contrast to the cold corporate world Ethan represented. Mr. Lin spotted Mrs. Wilkins leaning towards her friends, sharing a story that made them all laugh heartily. Many people have given up on the idea of community, Ethan said, a glimmer of doubt in his voice. But who is really looking out for you not when it counts? I finally realized that true success doesn't mean isolating myself, Mr. Lin said, feeling the weight of every patron behind him, their silent support strengthening his resolve. It means finding people who care. Slowly, Ethan's smile faded, replaced by a careful calculation. This isn't over, Lin, Ethan snapped, backing away but making sure everyone in the diner witnessed the threat in his eyes. "You may regret this choice sooner than you think." As he turned and stepped back out of the diner, the atmosphere shifted. Mr. Lin released a shaky breath, glancing around. The diners were exchanging glances, smiles blooming across their faces. "Good on you, Mr. Lin." Someone called from the back, and a wave of supportive chatter followed. Luis thumped Mr. Lin on the back, grinning. "You stood your ground. That's what matters most." But his voice dipped, eyes narrowing slightly. "Are you ready for what's to come?" The questions hung in the air like an aroma that wouldn't settle. Changes were entwining with threats, and Mr. Lin could feel the weight of both settle heavily upon him. How would he navigate the storm brewing ahead? And if camaraderie held power, could it guide him through what was coming next? The diner buzzed with conversation, an undercurrent of excitement mingled with apprehension. Mr. Lin stood at the center, still processing the confrontation with Ethan Briggs. He could feel their eyes on him, some sympathetic, others curious. They knew what was happening, and it made the hair on his neck stand up again. But there was also a spark of solidarity rising in the air. "Let us celebrate," Luis proclaimed, raising his coffee cup like a trophy, his face lit up with pride. "You just defended not just your choice, but what this place stands for." A wide smile spread across Mr. Lin's face as he watched the spark of determination in his friend's eyes. "It's a small victory, but a victory nonetheless," he agreed. But the gnawing doubt wouldn't leave him. What had he unleashed by standing up to Ethan? As they continued talking, laughter filled the air, breaking the tension. Conversations flowed, and Mr. Lin felt warmth surround him, cocooning him in a familiar embrace. This was more than a diner, it was a piece of his soul, woven into the fabric of the space and its patrons. Then the door swung open again. The familiar jingling of the attached bell offered a welcome sound, but it was quickly overshadowed by the feeling of unease creeping back. The same tall man entered, but this time, he wasn't alone. Beside him was a short and stout figure, dressed in a beige uniform, his face partly obscured by a baseball cap. "Nice place you got here," Ethan said, his tone laced with mockery, eyes scanning the cafe as if it were a stage for a performance. "So quaint. All very homey." Mr. Lin's heart raced. A quick dart of suspicion crossed his mind. What was Ethan up to? The new arrival walked over to the counter, casually pouring himself a cup of coffee. His movements exuded an air of comfort. But it wasn't until he turned and smiled at Mr. Lin that something clicked in Mr. Lin's mind. "David," Mr. Lin whispered, abruptly recognizing him. David was the diner's night shift waiter, the one with a knack for making everyone feel at home. But tonight, there was something different. The way David stood, straightened shoulders and determined gaze, seemed almost daunting. Was that confidence? David caught Mr. Lin's eye and greeted him with a slight nod. "Hey, Mr. Lin. I heard about what happened." "Yeah, well," Mr. Lin started, not knowing how to respond. "It was really something," David continued, his voice low. "And I don't want to scare you, but you have to know something important." Ethan's smirk faltered, eyes narrowing as he caught the exchange. "What's this now? You kitchen staff have secrets to share." David straightened, turning towards Ethan. "More than you know. There's power in community, more than the likes of you can understand." With an unexpected confidence, David began to speak about a plan, the kind of plan that might just counter the corporation's intrusion. A wave of energy surged through Mr. Lin as he listened. Could it be that David was holding the keys to his own future, the unlikely ally in a war he didn't know he was fighting? "Look, it's gonna take all of us, but we can push back," David insisted, eyeing both Mr. Lin and Ethan with determination. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "What we have here is worth fighting for. We know each other, and that's powerful." Mr. Lin's heart raced. Dialogue and laughter vanished, replaced by an intense focus. The implications of David's words sent a tingle down his spine. Together, they could stop Ethan and the corporate machinery behind him. As silence enveloped them, Ethan laughed derisively. You think you can play games with me? You don't even know what you're up against. But Mr. Lin felt emboldened by new possibilities. Strength was in the unity of these people, his community. Maybe it's time we show not just you, but ourselves exactly what we're up against, Mr. Lin responded, feeling a sense of purpose igniting. The diner felt alive, crackling with energy, but what he didn't expect was the look on Ethan's face. It was something close to fear. What lengths would they go to protect what mattered? Was Mr. Lin ready to lead everyone into battle? The stakes were higher than ever, and the next move could change their lives forever. As they prepared for the coming confrontation, the question lingered in the air: who would emerge victorious in this struggle for heart and home? David's confidence seemed like a beacon in a gathering storm, and Mr. Lin found himself gripping the edge of the counter. The chatter of the diner faded as everyone turned their attention to the unfolding drama. Ethan stepped forward, hands stuffed into his pockets, an arrogant gleam sparking in his eyes. Powerful? This place? You really think the value of a diner can withstand the kind of corporate attention we're talking about? His mocking tone slithered through the air like smoke to Mr. Lin's heart pounded. You've underestimated this diner and what it means, he declared, surprising even himself with his boldness. Spare me the speeches. I'm here for business, Ethan snapped back, his face twisted with disdain. David remained unfazed. This isn't just about business for us. This is our home. He gestured around, and Mr. Lin felt the weight of every person in the diner: the cook in the back, the waitress carrying a tray of pies, the regulars who filled their daily doses of coffee and warmth. A murmur spread through the crowd. Louis stood up, raising his cup again. That's right. We stand together. His voice ignited a chain reaction, and soon, others joined in with nods and shouts of agreement. Ethan's smirk faltered slightly, but he quickly regained his composure. You don't really think you stand a chance against a corporation? I have resources you can't even imagine. Then we'll have to find a way to fight back, won't we? David said, his voice steady, cutting through the tension. He stepped closer to Mr. Lin, a shared understanding hanging in the air. It's not just about money. It's about who we are. These people believe in this place. I believe in this place. You can't just take that away. The crowd began to murmur, heads bobbing in agreement. Mr. Lin surveyed the faces of those he served, cooked for, and shared laughter with. Inspiration sparked deep within him, overcoming the fear that had clouded his heart since Ethan entered. What do you need from me? Mr. Lin finally asked David, ready to join this impossible fight. David smiled, relief evident on his face. We all need to work together. I've got connections with other small businesses in the area: the baker, the florist, even the gym on the corner. We can unite, create a collective that shows Ethan that community matters. Excitement bubbled over, and whispers of plans and strategies filled the diner. Mr. Lin felt a beat of hope. Perhaps they could do this. Perhaps, they could make their voices heard. But Ethan wasn't done. He laughed, a harsh sound ringing out in the warmth of their gathering. Good luck with that. You think these petty little businesses can take down a corporation? You'll never make an impact. Just look around. Mr. Lin clenched his jaw. That hopelessness wouldn't come from him, not anymore. We're stronger together, Ethan. You may have money, but we have each other. And that's worth more than you can ever buy. As the air thickened with shared resolve, the diner came alive with planning and hope, but lurking in the background was Ethan, still, like a shadow waiting to pounce. What was his next move? The door swung open once more, this time letting in a gust of chilly evening air and an unfamiliar figure, cloaked in shadows. Heads turned, surprised by the new arrival, their conversation halting. A tall woman stepped into the light, her expression unreadable. She scanned the room, settling her gaze on Mr. Lin. I heard what's going on. And I think I might have some information that could change everything. What secrets did she hold, and could they turn the tide in this burgeoning fight? Mr. Lin's pulse quickened. Their battle was just beginning. The diner was quiet, the chatter of voices fading as the new woman stepped forward. Her confidence filled the room, easing the tension hanging in the air. Her presence felt almost magnetic, pulling everyone closer. "I'm Rachel," she said, her voice strong and calm. "And I know how corporations think. What you're facing isn't just a merger, it's a takeover." Mr. Lin's heart raced as he absorbed her words. The weight of fear lifted just slightly, replaced by curious hope. "You know how to stop them?" he asked, voice steady but barely concealing the urgency within. "I do," she affirmed, glancing over the patrons who surrounded them, acknowledgement softening her intensity. "I used to work for one of the biggest firms. I saw firsthand the tactics they use: manipulation, intimidation, and discrediting anyone who stands against them." Nervous whispers filled the diner, a mixture of excitement and concern spreading like wildfire. "Intimidation?" someone from the back called out. "Are they threatening you?" "No," she replied, shaking her head. "But they spin a narrative to make you look insignificant. They try to divide you." David, razor-focused, stepped beside Mr. Lin. "So we stand united. If we share our stories and support each other, they can't silence us." The fervor he felt was palpable, igniting sparks of determination in the eyes around him. "Exactly," Rachel said, her gaze drifting from one person to another. "Your diner can be a beacon. A place where you gather and strategize, not just a site of service. Solidarity and community can turn into a movement." The energy in the diner shifted dramatically. The idea of action, of purpose, sparked in every heart. Mrs. Wilkins stood up, her knitting needles now symbolizing more than just a crafting hobby. "We should gather our stories. Show them what this diner truly means." "Yeah!" shouted a patron. "Let us show them the heart that fuels this place." Mr. Lin felt his own pulse quicken, the strength of their conviction coursing through him. This wasn't just about defending a diner anymore, it was about standing up for each other, for the values they shared, for the heartbeat of their lives. "All right, let us unite," he said, anchoring his voice with strength. "We'll plan community events, town halls, and rally support everywhere." As ideas flowed, the diner transformed into a hub of creativity and commitment. Laughter mixed with serious discussions about photographs and stories they could share, plans for social media campaigns, and ways to reach out to other local businesses. The warmth, once just the smell of coffee and bacon, now ignited hope and determination in each corner. Rachel, who had seemed like an ordinary patron at first, understood they were panting flames of courage. Don't underestimate the power of social media. Create a hashtag, start an online movement. If you can show the world what your community embodies, you can garner support. Mr. Lin felt a surge of pride for his friends and supporters. This was more than a simple diner now, it had become a symbol of resistance, a flashpoint for change. There was no turning back. The resolve solidifying in their hearts began to weave an unbreakable bond. As the evening darkness poured chill into the diner, Mr. Lin and his community braced for the storm. They were ready. They were armed with each other's stories, shared laughter, and the truth of what really mattered in life. Looking around at the faces he had come to cherish, he felt unyielding strength radiate from them. They were bound together in purpose. Together, Mr. Lin declared, we'll show them what it means to be part of something bigger. We're a community that stands tall, come what may. With the sound of voices rallying behind him, he could feel that life had shifted. They wouldn't just resist, they would rise, stronger than any corporation could ever imagine. And outside in the bustling city, the winds of rebellion began to stir, preparing to thunder against the walls of indifference. They would not just confront an enemy, they would change the narrative, redefine success on their own terms. And let the world know that a diner filled with heart could unite to pave the way for transformation. Lin felt tears of joy spring to his eyes as hope surged like flames in the night. This wasn't merely about survival, it was about turning dreams into reality. So, with a mix of excitement and resolve, they moved forward, hand in hand, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The world outside would hear their calls. As the diner doors swung open again to the chilling evening air, it felt like stepping into destiny. You need to subscribe now to keep following this incredible journey of community and transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to help more stories shine. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this empowering conclusion. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the power of unity and change. Don't wait not even one more second to share. We're just getting started.